Welcome back. With us right now is Roxanne Kine, and Roxanne is a theater instructor with the Saddleback College Emeritus Institute right here in Laguna Woods. Good to see you and meet you. It's a pleasure.
Likewise.
So first, tell me about your background, and have you been teaching theater for a while? I understand that you have a background in professional acting as well.
I do. But let me give you my sordid background.
Okay, I want to hear that.
I was lucky enough to be accepted at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York City way back, way back when. And at that time, it was an extremely prestigious school, but now so many other universities have theater programs.
Right.
But at that time,
back then,
with Cecil B. DeMille, Robert Redford, a lot of
cool.
people, Grace Kelly, all alumni. So I was thrilled to be a part of it. Very small school. And in the 70s, I knew that a Latina girl like me could not really find a lot of work, and I needed money desperately. So I put myself back into college and became a computer scientist.
I worked for, you were ahead of the curve.
Yes, I needed money. You know, money will let you do a lot of things.
Yes.
And so I worked for IBM for 15 years.
Wow. When was this? I'm just curious.
I graduated college in the 80s, so it was until, I worked for IBM until 1992.
Okay, all right.
But during that time, I always did community theater. I also coached young actors, and we had a big influx of actors in North Carolina. I was working in Research Triangle Park, so I was like these two people. And then I left the business, and I moved to California, and I dabbled a lot in commercials and a lot of background work because it's so difficult to find a job. And I became an acting coach. I also worked as a director for musical theater for children in San Clemente, and I did an after-school program for them for the part of Parks and Recreation. I did that for a while. I was a Macy judge, a children's Macy judge for 4 years, and if you haven't heard of them, they are an organization that goes from one high school to another, about 44 total in Orange County, and we find and award musical theater students at the Segerstrom Center, which is really nice for them to have their own show, award show.
Yeah, I have heard of that, now that you mention that, yes.
And then the winners go, one boy, one girl, go to New York, and they compete at the national level.
Wow.
And the winner of that gets a 4-year, all expenses paid, tuition, everything at NYU.
Nice.
So I did that for 4 years. And then, of course, I do other things to earn money, but I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about the theater.
Sure.
And then I was very lonely, and I said, I have to go back and practice more. So I took an emeritus class in acting. And I was the student, and then I became the teacher. So this is how I got here.
Yeah.
And it makes me so very happy because my students, which is different than the students I've had, are incredible. First of all, if you are a senior, you have so much life experience that it's easy for me to say, do you remember when this happened to you? And then they could relate to the scene.
Exactly.
My 14-year-olds, it was so difficult. There was
exactly.
nothing there. There was no background.
Yeah.
So even if I have new people in the class, they really understand, and I can just push them a little bit, and then they get it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
they get it, because it all has to come from inside. Otherwise, it's fake. So if you can't relate to that.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Now, as far as your classes go, do you teach several times a week? And they're all taught here at the Village,
Both of them. I only teach 2 classes on Mondays, 8:30 and 10:30. They're both scene study classes.
Okay.
But the first one, since I have some of my students attend both classes, and I have to keep it fresh for 4 hours. I can't repeat the lesson. So I made the first class more of an improv class. And they named themselves the Village Idiots. Their choice, I did not vote. And we are now making an improvisation group.
Oh, nice.
Yes, so we hope to perform maybe for the Theater Guild and and when we're ready.
Right.
They're not ready yet, but they're learning the art of improv, which is a little bit different than
Yeah.
scene study. The second
That's
class
got to
is-
be, I would think that would be more difficult, the improv, right?
Yes, it is more difficult. It's a lot more difficult because you're the writer.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you don't want to become a writer. You don't want to be a talking head. It has to come, again, from the inside. It has to be very organic.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of exercises for them to get that.
Yeah, I can imagine that would be tough, definitely, but very rewarding once they click into it, right?
Yes, yes, and they learn. And that's part of the Emeritus, you know.
Yeah.
We always like to say we want to be challenging, mentally challenging, you know, socially engaging. It's a given in an acting class. You give so much of yourself.
Yeah, you do.
And you have to participate. I mean, all the students do. And they talk about their personal life because you can't help it.
Yeah.
So it's,
Now,
I can't tell you.
as far as the class goes, how big are they? Are they the same? You mentioned you do 2 classes on Monday. Is it the same group of students?
It's not the same group of
Okay.
students. About 8 of them
Okay.
are the same. So that's one of the reasons I separated it a little
Okay.
bit. I have about 25 to 27 students in each class.
Okay.
Yeah, and
So
8
it's a
repeat.
decent sized class.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Is that, when you have that many in the class, did you kind of break it up as far as they go in groups and do their scene studies or improv?
Yes, the second class, the scene study, I work with them maybe the first few weeks, and I show them, well, they watch me work with other actors, so they each get a chance. And then later on, a few weeks later, I start separating them and say, go with your partner and work.
Right.
And so they have that rehearsal time, even though I want them to rehearse in addition to that.
Yeah.
But my first class is doing monologues, and I like for them to watch because they're short. They're only 1 minute, and you learn a lot. The process of, you know, dissecting the character
Right.
and the situation, and what does that character want. And it's very interesting. People like to watch. So with the first class, they don't really separate much, but I get through them because they're short monologues.
Yeah, if they're only a minute or so.
They're only a minute.
And you get, with the monologues, do they have to come up with it, or do you throw out a subject to them? How does that work?
I give them
Since it's an improv kind of a class.
the monologues are not improv.
Okay, I see.
The monologues they have to get from
Okay.
somewhere, and of course I tell them find something that you can relate to. You know, if you're 65, don't go and play a 22-year-old.
Right.
It doesn't work. So they can play anybody from the 40s up, really. But I do that because it teaches them acting differently, from a different perspective, not just improv. Improv, they work hand in hand. Improv helps the scene study or the monologue, and monologue also helps improv. So you can't really separate the two.
Right, but with the
But-
improv, of course, they're making up as they go along.
Right,
Or do you
right.
start them out with a subject that they have to follow?
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. There's hundreds of exercises.
Okay.
Some of them, one that's difficult for them to understand, and we've done it twice. The second time they got it, the first time they couldn't get it. Like we were in a circle, and I give them 3 words that are non-emotional, just random words: cat, house, fire, and then and no feeling. And then the person next to me has to go and take that and respond to whatever irked them. Maybe the word cat, maybe they have a sick animal at home.
Right.
And so then they have to display the emotion, and they'll have to say, you never liked the cat, how dare you?
Yeah.
And then they turn around and they give 3 words just out of the clear blue sky, whatever pops into their head, and the other person just does the emotion. So it's almost like a psychology test.
Yeah.
You give a word and what's the feeling? And at first they want to write a story. You say, cat, this and this, and they say, well, my cat is so beautiful and this and that, and then like they just want to go on and on. I say,
Yeah.
no, just the impulse.
Right.
And then there's other more complicated things where I have bags, and some of them, you know, are adjectives, and some of them are verbs, and another bag is noun. Another a noun like it could be a person that we know in history. And then I go around the classroom and they pick a couple of things, and the people that are happen to be on stage, they have to take that as their situation.
Yeah.
And that's where it starts to get more difficult.
Yeah, I bet.
And they have to be quick about it. And I see already the progression that they're making. They go right into it. They just let that impulse happen. And of course, there's rules. You don't say no, you say yes.
Yeah.
You know, lots of things that I teach them, but we have so much fun.
So are you going to be teaching, you're teaching the spring semester, are you going to continue through summer or fall, or do you know yet your schedule?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I would love to, but I'm a new teacher and we'll see what happens. But I think my students are happy.
Yeah, well, that's great.
I hope they are.
It seems like you're happy doing it.
Very happy.
Well, it's been a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
And I hope I see you back again, and I hope it goes well for you, so you continue on teaching these classes, because I think from what I'm getting from you, you really enjoy it. Your students are getting things out of it, and I think you probably bring so much good experience and good teaching skills. It sounds like a wonderful class.
We do laugh.
Yes, it sounds like
Yes,
a
thank you
pleasure
so
to meet
much.
you. And if you were interested in any of the classes, although we're right in the middle of the spring semester, just go online to saddleback.edu/emeritus, and you can find out all the information there. And keep in mind that quite often these classes, they start to fill up maybe a month, even 2 months before. So start thinking maybe about what you want to do if you want to take a summer class, and probably about in April or so, you start looking at the schedule and it'll be up for you. Make your mind up that. Thank you again.